Hello and welcome to Safe Schools. I'm Curtis Grace with the Mobile Police Department.
And I'm Andy Howard, Mobile County Public School System.
Andy, we're going to have a great show today. We're going to be talking to Dion Gaston. Dion is the CEO. I'm going to call it the CEO. He can correct me later, though. Compass to Life Mentoring Program.
Okay.
That serves Baldwin County and Mobile County.
Well, I think that's going to be an important conversation. Mentoring is certainly significant, and I'd love to hear more about it.
We'll be right back.
It's a fact. Bullying happens. Bullying can lead to serious physical and emotional pain. But there are some things you can do to prevent or stop it. Stand up for the person who's being bullied. Let the bully know that it's not cool to pick on others. Take action by reporting the bully to a teacher or principal. In the end, when you help someone who's being bullied, you are also helping yourself.
Each month, more than 90 guns are reported stolen from unlocked vehicles, creating the potential of serious injury or death.
Lock it up.
Many violent acts and crimes are committed with stolen guns.
Lock it up.
According to ATF, stolen guns pose a substantial threat to public safety.
Lock it up.
Be responsible. Take time to record your handgun serial number and secure it from thieves. Lock it up.
Lock it up for me.
And welcome back to Safe Schools. Dion, welcome to Safe Schools.
Good morning. Thank y'all for having me.
And thank you for coming. We are excited about hearing a little more about the program that you are the executive director, I think is the term Curtis used.
Well, I'll let him correct it later, but I spoke with Dion a while back, and I've known Dion for years now and the things he's been doing in the community in Baldwin County and in Mobile County with young people, trying to get them on the right path to success, often dealing with behavior issues that manifest themselves in schools. But he's had great success in dealing with them, and I just want him to share a little bit with the public about it. But before we do that, Dion, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm Dion Gatson. Here, I live resident of Daphne, Alabama. Grew up in Pensacola, Florida. I currently work full-time with the State Department of Mental Health and work pretty much in the evenings with the Compass to Life Services. We've been running it 4 years now. I have 3 sons, wife, married, and just loving and serving our community. That's my heart, that's my passion, and that's why I exist on this earth.
You're also a commissioned captain with the United States Army Reserve or National Guard?
National Guard.
National Guard.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
much.
Well, Dion, tell us a little bit about Compass to Life. Let's talk about Compass to Life.
Okay, so Compass to Life, I'll just kind of start with the backstory, if that's okay. After I got my bachelor's degree in sociology and psychology, I began working at Strickland Youth Center. And throughout my time there, I had a great experience, got the opportunity to learn a lot about social services, a lot about the dynamics of Mobile County, as well as some of the challenges that our teens were facing. There I began to see a lot of our young boys come in and out of Strickland Youth Center. We called it door 6, but they would hit door 6 very, very frequent. You know,
What is door 6?
so door 6 is the door where you leave intake and you come to detention.
Okay.
So you know, your staff and your administrators, they go to the other way when they're coming to their offices or whatnot. But when a police officer such as yourself brings a child through they go to intake through door 3, and then they check them. We do the drug screens, all that stuff, change their clothes, and then bring them through door 6. So as I looked at door 6, I saw a lot of familiar faces coming in and out of that facility over the course of the years.
Well, Strickland, for those who are not familiar, I would think most people are, but you have some who are not because they never have to deal with that side of the justice system. But it's very similar to being arrested, right? You're arrested and you are pretty much booked. Change of clothing, you cannot wear your clothes. You have to wear the clothing that's issued to you, and you're back there. And you work with these kids, some of these kids, and your goal is to figure out what's going on with them so you can put them on the right track.
Correct.
What does that look like?
So, and when you ask that, I know that's a twofold question. Do you mean in the detention setting, or you mean like now with Compass to Life?
Well, with Compass to Life.
Okay, so with Compass to Life, you know, let's say a child is booked into Strickland or even taken to Strickland, but the parent's able to pick them up due to it being a misdemeanor or a low-level offense. At that time, you know, the family may hear about Compass to Life, or a juvenile probation officer may refer that family to Compass to Life, and that's when we'll talk to the mom or dad and say, hey, we have an active program that runs on a cycle every 10 weeks, and we cover several different objectives to hopefully work with your child and ultimately keep them from ever returning to Strickland Youth Center.
Okay. So when you're talking to the parent and the kid, are they appreciative of the notion that this cycle that you're seeing can be broken and that they realize that it's a cycle? What's the response that you're getting when you engaging with that conversation about this cycle that you mentioned initially?
Well, generally, you know, we see all type of families from all socioeconomic backgrounds. So I see a little bit of it all. I see some parents that are willing to do whatever it takes to keep their teenager out of trouble and from returning to detention or returning to expulsion or with the police department. Then I see some families, unfortunately, that the mom is still or the dad's still defending the child. The mom or dad, or they say they want help or they want treatment, but they don't want to do the follow through to bring the child to the groups or to bring the child to make sure they're getting the services.
Dion, do you see that often? Do you see where the parents are less motivated to engage, to find solutions for their children?
Unfortunately, I do. I would probably say it's about a 70-30 split, just off the top of my head, and that's all backgrounds, all races, from all geographic areas of Mobile County. A lot of parents they don't want to do the work, or they're kind of not to that point yet. You know.
My question to that though is this: being that is in some cases the scenario you're dealing with. It takes a degree of motivation on your part to really see this thing through. So what motivates you? What's your passion? Obviously you have a passion for this, but what's the driving force behind your passion?
My driving force, what keeps me going in the team is really just hopefully believing that we're able to save that one. We actually work, even though we want the parent involved, we actually work more from the child's perspective, because at this point, especially at the age they're at, that's really the one that we want to capture and the one that ultimately we can change, not so much the parent. We do offer parent education classes. We have a parenting group while the boys are in group. We do parent huddles after each group. So with that being said, we still give education and support to the parent, but my motivation to answer that question is just looking at the faces on those teenagers and hoping that I can just change at least one of them.
So I see this common thread in the course of your life as you described going to school and starting your first career and now onto your current career and path of wanting to impact or influence young people. What was the thing that attracted you to that path?
My biggest thing, if I had to say, was just seeing the hurt and seeing the desperate levels of despair and sometimes even depression and just the lack of resources for some of those teenagers that I witnessed in the Strickland Youth Center setting when I was there. That, you know, it kind of gave me a push. It kind of gave me a go-getter kind of attitude to where I had to do it for these teens. And nothing was going to stop me, you know. And again, even if I didn't save, let's say I had 10 teenagers in the group, even if I didn't save all 10, if I was just able to turn one around because maybe his father was in prison or maybe he was living with his grandmother who had an income of $800 a month, you know, those teens needed me.
And those are stories that you heard frequently.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, your program is not just a mentoring program. You've already highlighted that you work with licensed clinicians to provide services to families,
Yes,
children
sir.
and their families. What are some of the program objectives for Compass to Life?
Okay, that's a great question. So we run a 9-week program, and on the 10th week, the teenagers graduate at one of the police departments. So we have 9 objectives that we cover each week. So the first week, and I'll just hit them real briefly.
Yeah, I'm going to pause you for just a second. We're going to
Okay.
go into a commercial break because I really want everyone to hear what these objectives are.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
To be in the AP program, it not only offers you great opportunities in the classroom, but also outside. Like being a member of the AP program, I can come into college already being a sophomore in college, so I can completely skip 1 year just by completing all my AP credits and by taking the classes and passing the exams. I would recommend other students to take AP classes because being a member of the program offers so many benefits and helps you decide what you want to do in the future and where you want to go with your life.
Hello, I'm Renee Phillips, your host of Homeroom. Will you join us as we talk with the students, teachers, and staff about all of the great things happening in our schools?
That's right, Renee. Not only are we here to keep you informed about the great things happening in our schools, but to also keep you updated on safety issues.
Our show, Safe Schools, looks at ways to keep your child and our students safe.
Not only are we looking at ways to keep your child and our students safe, but to keep you informed on how to connect with us.
Manténgase informado aquí en Conexión a Padres.
And we also score big from pre-K to high school with MCPSS Athletics.
And then Inside Education puts it all together for you, showing you the ins and outs about news and events taking place across the Mobile County Public School District. We do this to keep you informed.
And we're back. Dion, can you go ahead and expound on a little bit of what we were talking about before commercial break about those objectives?
Okay, yes, sir. So real quick, I'll be short and brief here, but we cover 9 separate objectives that kind of lead ultimately to a culminating event, which we call our capstone graduation. The first week we cover with the teens, we focus on joining them and building that rapport, because a lot of times the teenagers come, they don't want to be there. So the first week, I got the boys sitting like this or trying to play on their phone. So we don't even talk about curriculum. Hey man, I'm Mr. Dion, nice to meet you. Why do you think your mom or dad want you to be here? Why are they so out there that they think you need to be here? How can we fix mom or dad, kind of thing. Once we build that rapport, we feed them. The next week they come in hot. So we're doing peer presentations each week where the teenagers are delivering a news article or a story that's going on in the media that a teenager has done. So whether it be a crime or whether it be a teenager going through a mental health crisis, they're presenting that to their group. Each week we do a peer presentation. Okay. We go on into our one-ups, one down, where we go around the room and all the teens have to give us one thing they've done well that week, one thing they could have done better, and then we go up to that week's objective. So the peer presentation and the one-ups, one down, and the play are just weekly, but prior to the objective. So week 2 objectives, I think choices versus consequences. Week 3, we do anger management. Week 4, we roll into values. Week 5, we roll into talking about their parent or the adult that they see and what they can learn from that person or take away from that person or keep. So for instance, if they have a dad that's in prison, what can we learn from your dad's mistakes? And if you have a dad that's a very successful man, what can you learn from his choices as well? Week 6 through 8, we call phase 2. We're kind of beginning to do that refining stage. Integrity, who are you when nobody's looking? Responding to police, authority, principals. So yeah, I know the principal doesn't like you, but how can you still respect them? I know your mom talks crazy to you, as the kids say, but how can you still respect her? The last week we talk about drugs and prevention. We have a speaker generally come from the Drug Education Council and speak to the teens, and we do our final program review their 5-year plan. And the last week we're taking our teens to the police department. We're putting them in a shirt and tie, and they're going to present to us their 5-year plan. And we're firm on them. We tell them we don't want a cookie cutter 5-year plan. Right. Don't get up here and say, I'm going to go to college. We want details. We want the details.
Yeah, how you gonna do it?
Exactly.
I really like the idea of you preparing them for public speaking, for example. One of the things that I think hold kids back or young people back is that confidence of being able to speak among other people, people that they may not have anything in common with. But those are things that sometimes create barriers, and those barriers sometimes create dysfunction.
Right.
Yes, I think much of their life does appear to be that digital engagement, and that human to engagement is a gap for young folks nowadays. That's just not something they do a lot of.
Right.
So it is important for them to know how to interact with people, and then asking those critical questions. I think that's important too. It's questions that I would expect that, if you all don't ask them, they never would think to even respond to them, or things that they would never consider.
Right. And to speak on that, in addition to the public skills and asking those, those direct, challenging questions, it's amazing to see the teens throughout the course of the program begin to take leadership roles and kind of be more independent and step up to the plate. We identify a cycle president, and what's amazing is as the course progresses, the staff actually has less and less to do, because at week 1 we're telling them, all right, peer presentation, do your pledge. By the time we get to week 9, we have a teenager. All right, guys, let's do our peer presentation. Let's do our pledge. Let's do one ups, one down, where it's almost student-led over the course of the program.
Leadership, teamwork, collaboration. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So it's it's just amazing to see the start, the finish, and see that final product.
Dion, do you follow any type of recidivism data with kids in terms of do they go back after they've completed your program? How successful are you in keeping those kids on that path of productivity, of success?
That's a great question, Mr. Curtis. So yeah, we monitor it by the year. We also have a committee team that meets with us quarterly, representatives from the police department, the school system, some private practice therapists. And what we do is we do anonymous callbacks. We want to stay engaged with our families and our parents. And we also do aftercare where we do, we call it First Tuesdays. So the first Tuesday of each month, you fall into our graduate pool. And then it's optional. The parent can bring them, or they don't have to come every month. But we do that to track and just to keep that relationship with them. Unfortunately, and it's just going to happen. Sometimes we do. Unfortunately, the longer we go, we do kind of lose sometimes some of the children. The parent may move, and the parent may get their phone turned off, and we have no way to get them. But for the parents that want to stay active, they know how to find us, and we keep that connection with them.
I think one of the most important factors is the parent connection, because we know with youth, their brains are still developing. There are a lot of things, frontal lobe development. Those who understand that part understand that that's where sometimes their rational thinking, we look at as being irrational. They think of it being normal, but in their mind, they are making right decision, but they're actually making wrong decisions because of brain development.
Right.
So it's important for those parents to actually stay engaged with you, so that the young person is not the only person that's trying to stay in contact.
Absolutely.
I get that completely.
Yeah. And when we graduate them, our biggest thing is we don't want to graduate them and say, all right, see you later, because we're starting our new cycle. We want those parents to know, hey, they're a part of the Compass of Life family now. We want to track them. We want to retain them, because we do community service events quarterly. We take the boys. We took a set of boys to an NBA game this summer. Thanksgiving, day before Thanksgiving, to see the Lakers play. So, we do different things, Bay Bears games, different things, and even with other nonprofits, if they need some teenagers to volunteer at their event, we want to support them. But again, like you're saying, Curtis, it's definitely the parents got to kind of meet us in the middle, meet us halfway.
That's right.
So how engaged are the parents in this process as compared to the kids? Because you talked about the 9 steps. Those kids are the ones that are doing the 9 steps. So. Where are the parents in that process? It's just the initial contact and making sure they're where they need to be so that you all can work with them?
Yes, sir. So we have, at week 1, we have a required parent group where we do our intake forms, consent forms, kind of tell the parents about the group. So one staff has the parents while another staff has the teenagers. At week 5, before we go into phase 2, we do another parent group where we're kind of like more so doing a check-in with the parent. Hey, what concerns are you seeing? Are you seeing trends of improvement? What setbacks? How can we improve, since we only have 4 or 5 more weeks with your son? And but each week with that, we do a required parent huddle. So the group on the 50 after the hour, we have all of our parents come in, and one of the teenagers are presenting to the parents, hey, this is what we covered today. Parents, hey, if there's any homework assignments, keep the conversation going on at home. So over the course of the program, we definitely have certain tracks and check measures to keep the parent, involved.
Guys and girls, I'm sorry, Kirk, but this guys and girls, what is the majority of these folks that you're interacting with guys or
Yes, sir. So we're currently running 3 different programs. So we have our boys leadership that's separate. We have our anger management program that we're running in partnership with Strickland Youth Center. That's a co-ed group, and then we have our girls group that we just started here in 2020. So that's a girls only group.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, Dion, I want you to share some success stories with us. I'm sure you have plenty of them, but I would love to hear some of them.
We'll do. That sounds
great.
We'll
be right back.
It's a fact. Bullying happens. Bullying can lead to serious physical and emotional pain. But there are some things you can do to prevent or stop it. Stand up for the person who's being bullied. Let the bully know that it's not cool to pick on others. Take action by reporting the bully to a teacher or principal. In the end, when you help someone who's being bullied, you are also helping yourself.
I believe my child's school is probably one of the best ones I could have picked in Mobile. She's in the PACE program. The teachers are phenomenal. The principal, couldn't ask for a better principal. The research that I had done myself, I believe the quality of education in Mobile County Public School System is excellent. For me and my child, I'm going to stick with the public school system. I think it's the way to go.
All right, lots to talk about in a short period of time, but we're going to try to make it happen. Dion, we were talking about earlier during the break about your graduate data. Can you share a little bit of that and then pivot into your success stories of the young people that you work with?
Absolutely. So we do this at our quarterly meetings. So for 2019, we reviewed all of our cases. Between myself and the rest of the committee team, we made anonymous phone calls to the parent. And compared to the teenagers that were still coming to our aftercare program. Between the parents that we were able to get in a hold to, I think we showed that we had a 64% success rate, and we only had 2 out of the, I want to say 47, 2 out of the 47 or 46 to reoffend and be back in trouble with the legal system. We did have a few that were reported to, maybe were giving mom or dad a little bit of trouble in the home. It was a very, very small number. But definitely we had, great reports of success. We had parents that are still keeping their child involved, coming to the aftercare program, coming to the community service involvement, and spoke good things about Compass Alive. And the reason we do that real quick is, we want to be held accountable. We don't, if what we're doing is not working, we need to pack up and go home. Or we need to look for ways
what you need to improve.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
You want to be able to take a measure and see what's working and what you can improve upon. I think that's very beneficial. About the young folks, maybe who haven't been a part of your program, but you have an opportunity to hear on our set to talk a little bit. What communication would you like to just share with our younger audience about what path they might consider or what impact they might consider about the things that you've observed and learned? You worked in Strickland, you work with at-risk youth, and not all of them are at risk, not yet. But what would you say to that young person that's out there in our audience today about a recommendation as to how they're going to be successful in life and how they're going to avoid finding themselves in the problems that you encountered over the time at Strickland and subsequently?
Right. That's a great question. What I would tell the teens, and even if we have elementary age kids watching, is to slow down and make the right choices. There are ways to fit in. There are ways to still be cool. There are ways to still be respected. I'm not, we don't expect you to be lame. We don't expect you to be bullied. We don't expect you to go to school and be weak or be a punk, as the kids say. But you can still be strong and be independent and be a leader at the same time by making the right choices, by slowing down and making your decisions. Number 2, what I would tell them is be careful what kind of associates and friends they carry themselves with, because that ultimately will put you in situations that you might not want to be in. So make sure you're surrounding yourself with students and peers that are kind of going the same direction that you want to go, and be the leader. If you're being a follower, that's a problem. You need to get in a group where you can be that leader.
When I go back to success stories, I'm thinking in the lines of those who have graduated from high school and now they've gone on with their adult lives. Have you followed any of those young people?
I have. So 2 come to mind real quick. Number 1, he was in our very first cycle. His father was in prison. Mom was driving from Mount Vernon, Alabama. Didn't miss not one group. Wow. He actually was in our first cycle. When he graduated, he started crying. He said, "I don't want to end up like my daddy." And it caught me off guard, and I started crying. But fast forward 3.5 years, I saw him this past summer at the original Oyster House. He graduated from Leroy High School and is going on to go to trade school. His mom's proud of him, grandma's proud of him. And he had some bumps along, a couple fights. I think he had one challenge with a girl being inappropriate on social media, but never, since he graduated, but never got arrested, never got put out of the home. And again, he graduated and is going to trade school.
Very good.
And then one other young man that comes to mind is he was a kid that was living with his aunt. His mom was deceased. He kept saying, "Mr. Dion, I want to do what's right, but I've been smoking weed. I'm smoking weed." I said, "Hey man, you got to stop doing that." So he struggled with substance abuse for a while, and he was being honest with me. But he went to some treatment after our program to get that. Mom continued to keep him involved with us with some individual, or his aunt, excuse me, kept him involved with individual mentoring. He's recently graduated high school as well, and he's going to speak at our back to school event coming up to the other teens. And he's now, I want to say he's now 20. Out of Oakdale County.
Okay.
Awesome.
So it's great to see those results and definitely see the impact that's being had across the Gulf Coast.
As a kid, did you imagine this would be where you were?
I never did. So I grew up real quick. My dad was a minister, and he was involved with a community choir. So I grew up seeing my parents serve. I remember as a kid, my mom, she took us to Office Depot, and I'd sit in there about 2 hours while she just run copies, and I'm about to want to just scream because I'm bored to death, and I didn't know. But I saw that licking the envelopes, putting stamps on the envelopes, helping them send those things out, and I didn't know what it was preparing me for.
Well, Dion, as we start to wrap up, how can someone reach out to Compass to Life?
So we can be reached at our website, www.compasstolife.com. The 2 is a Roman numeral 2, so it's compassliilife.com. We can be found on Facebook as well, and we can also be reached at 251-229-2860.
And you're in Mobile and Baldwin County?
Yes, sir. And we do groups on both sides of the bay. For our Mobile groups, we meet at Lifelines Counseling on Tuesday nights. We do 2 groups that evening, one from 6 to 7 and one from 7 to 8. And then in Baldwin County, we're actually rotating through the different schools. Some of our partner schools, we do an after-school program there. But we are multifunctional, we are innovative, we are creative. And parents, I want you to know that your child doesn't have to be bad, or your child doesn't have to be necessarily, you feel like has issues. This is mentoring at its best. This is support services at its best. And we're here to enrich our kids and make them better.
They have a choice and they can make a change.
Absolutely. And be a leader. Ultimately be a leader and help change the culture of this community.
That's right.
Dion, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come out here and to share the abundance of information you share with our school system, as well as all of Mobile County and Baldwin County. We thank you for your service, and you are always welcome on Safe Schools. This has been the Safe Schools program. I'm Curtis Graves.
And I'm Andy Howard, and thank you for viewing.
Thank y'all for having us.